This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome to the Elevate Construction Podcast, where we ask more of you than others do. My name is Jason Schroeder, and we have Brandon Montero with us today. Super excited to have him. We will be covering some key concepts about giving 100% and being accountable and much more. So before we go too far into the content, I would like to ask you, Brandon, some questions that will introduce you to the audience, to the listeners. So can you give me a quick summary about you, maybe where you grew up, some other details about your life, where you live, and then I've got about 5 questions for you that hopefully will help people to connect with you and who you are.
Thanks for having me. First off, I was born in Los Angeles, California, and I grew up in a family that moved around a lot. So I have also lived and worked in the Seattle area, in Arizona, and I had the opportunity to do a little bit of international construction work out of the country, near Bogota, Colombia, and near Lusaka, Zambia. I'm currently serving as the senior survey manager with Oakland Construction in Tempe, Arizona. I manage the survey crews along with having an overlap in training the field engineers in technical and personal professional skills. And I'm also a consultant with Elevate Construction with a similar focus, working with people, putting together boot camp training materials, technical trainings, and professional development.
So as we get to know you and connect with you, I would like to know, for the listeners and for me, how long have you worked in survey? And if you want to segment that out just a little bit, give us a snapshot of your career and kind of how you came up. I'd love to know how long you've worked in survey and kind of a little overview of your experience.
I have been in the survey industry for over 22 years. And I'll say that I more or less picked the profession from a catalog. I had the opportunity to go through vocational college. And at the time, I was doing drywall, and I had taken mechanical drafting while I was in high school. And I was learning a little bit of AutoCAD on the side by myself. So looking through a course catalog, I saw that land surveying had working outdoors, working with your hands, reading plan sets, and CAD drafting. And I was like, well, this might be a good spot for me. So I more or less started the career without knowing anyone in it, without understanding much about it. But it's really blossomed into an awesome career for me. And I have found it fulfilling to a lot of the different, I want to say intricacies about my personality, but that makes me sound really fancy. We all have different aspects of what make us ourselves. And I found survey to be so fulfilling to so many of those. I'm the type of person that will notice when a picture is hanging crooked behind someone that I'm having a conversation with, and it'll start eating away at my brain. That's I'm going to call it a skill set that has served me so far in my career, where I can just see or understand or feel when something's out of place, when something doesn't line up properly. It's helped me understand aesthetics in the way that I put together a final drafted product or a deliverable, the way that I write on Lath and make sure everything's easily communicated and understood by the people that I'm communicating with. That certainly served me in my career. I've always done more or less the field to finish approach. So even beginning with the first company that I worked with, I did some of the field work, and then I came into the office, did the QC portion, checked the work, began setting up calcs for work the next day. And I did that throughout the life of my career. So it kept me really well-rounded as a surveyor. I never fell behind on technology. I was always up on communicating with the project team or understanding the needs of the different department, like engineers, landscape architects, and just understanding what each of those, what I'll call clients, really, really needed from me. It helped me to stay abreast of all of the changes with AutoCAD. That's a program that's always evolving. And so I have just had that well-rounded approach in which I kind of touched every aspect of surveying as my career grew. And so my knowledge base in turn has become well-rounded as well. I would say some of my work out of the country has taught me a lot about tolerances, about different ways and different speeds at which people get things done. I've also had the opportunity to work on projects like satellite launch towers at Vandenberg Air Force Base that had to have precision out to 4 decimal places for everything that we did to ensure that there were no obstructions to launch path. So I feel like I've really had the full gamut of experience from having dirt moved around at 2 to 3 tenths tolerances to out to 4 decimal places. I've just had a lot of varying experiences that have filled out my book of work.
So how has your role changed over time? What would be the main thing that has changed over the course of your career?
I think the amount and the scope of what you manage and what you lead always changes in surveying. One of the cool things about the career path is that you're always mentoring or training someone else. You start off green, but as soon as you're a party chief or a junior party chief, there's someone in your care who you're already teaching your experiences to, teaching whatever you've decided is your secret sauce or a best fit for how to do things. So there's a lot of working with people. So I'll say that as my career has grown, the scope of who I managed, how much I could manage, how I dealt with people, turning from my immediate crew to leading the crews, to working with departments or putting out drafting standards for the company or for the department. Just so many things. So I would say just being able to stay strong on the office side of things has helped me to be able to manage internally with project teams, drafting, budgets, all of the things that are happening inside the office and staying in touch with what was going on in the field helped me in managing the crews and keeping on top of their technical skills, training, and expectations.
So you may have already answered this with your last answer, which I appreciate, but I'll ask it anyway. What are some of your favorite aspects of working in survey and working as a manager?
Yes, I overlapped on that one pretty good. I love working with people. That's always been extremely satisfying to me. I think that I am an empathetic person, so what's going on in the world around me means a lot to me. Someone else's experience, being able to watch them grow and evolve in the profession as well. So I've appreciated that the fact that I have always worked with someone or always been kind of in that mentoring field because it really gave me the opportunity to connect with people and watch them grow.
So what can you do that no one else can in your role? Or maybe it's not even in your role, maybe it's in life. And I know that you're a humble person, you're very modest, but I like this question for one reason. I think it gives us an insight into what is Brandon Montero's superpower. So I'll ask it one more time. What do you do that no one else can?
I'm going to say at the top of my list would be going back to my empathy. I don't think that feelings or empathy are something that you hear men talk about on a regular basis. But I want to say that I feel that my emotional range or my ability to connect with others has made me a better mentor, trainer, friend, relationship partner, and just so many things throughout the course of my life. So I'm happy that I am those things. I promote those qualities. I promote emotional range to the people who I mentor professionally as well, because I feel like it will open up new doors of experience to them. I also feel like, from a professional and technical standpoint, no one can be me. I have the amount of pride in the work that I do that only I myself can understand. There's a level that I need to meet just to be able to put my head on my pillow at night. I know exactly what due diligence is and when I have gone far above that or when I've fallen below. And so one of the things that only I can do is hold myself accountable to live at that level on a regular basis, daily, in everything that I can do and at all costs. That's something that only I can do, and it's something that's become extremely important to me in both my life and my career.
I'm glad that you mentioned your superpower in that way, the one thing that you can do that no one else can, and the level of detail with which you approach your work, because that ties perfectly into our topic today about giving 100% and holding ourselves accountable. So that wasn't planned for anybody that was listening. We didn't rehearse that. That just happened to come to pass. So we're going to get right into the principle, but I have one more question. Was there a person in your career that really made a difference? And let me tell you why I think that question is important. Everybody, as they go up through their careers, to my knowledge, has to have a role model or a mentor or an example or something that pulls them up. And that's a good motivation for all of us, right? To achieve our next level of excellence, not just for ourselves or for our families, but for the other people that we can lift behind us. And maybe even if we don't like the words behind us, but lift up with us, right? So was there a person in your career that has really made a difference for you and the progress that you've made as a human being, as a friend, as a brother, in any of your roles in life?
So there is a person in my career that helped me lay the foundation for taking pride in my work and also showing me what I could actually achieve as a surveyor. But I want to back up one step from that person to the first boss that I had. I was the low man on the totem pole of a three-man crew. We would go out to the job site, and this particular boss would sleep in the car. He'd sleep in the back of the van till about 10 o'clock, and the other two of us would go out and perform the tasks to the best of our ability. And then he would hop out and he'd go schmooze with the superintendent for a while. This is not a good example. Just want to clear that up. That's not where I'm going with it. Schmooze with the superintendent. But then if the superintendent needed something laid out on the quick for scheduling, for pre-planning, this boss would pull out his tape measure and a can of paint and he'd just go start laying out curb islands and other things to help the superintendent plan. And the project teams loved him because they felt that they were getting extras. They didn't realize they were paying for the weight of a third person who was sleeping in a vehicle, right? So a little bit further down the road in my career, I had a boss named Justin Height, and he introduced me to some of the advanced mathematics in surveying. He's where I learned how to perform least squares adjustments on traverse. He's the first person that introduced me to doubled angles, and it's sad that I hadn't heard about it that far into my career, or rather doubled angles. He used to set a tack and everything, and he's the same person that I worked with on these launch tower systems that could certify his work with a certain mathematical probability to be valid out to 4 decimal places through repetition, through averaging. He really showed me what was possible in the surveying world. And he was a great example of a person who was going to go the extra mile no matter what, because it was his name on it. And that really resounded with me a lot. It helped me take pride in my work. It helped me establish, work in place or on the ground to a certain level where I could go home happy with myself. And I'll say that throughout the course of my career, I've often thought about those two opposites, and seeing the two of them has helped me figure out, okay, if this were a tool in my toolbox, the highest, and if this were a tool in my toolbox, and I'm going to say hub and tack on everything, least squares adjustment, and a tape measure and a can of paint, and there are an infinite amount of tools in between those two opposites. To go about my day and to approach everything, trying to figure out where exactly on that spectrum do I need to be for this task to satisfy all of its needs, to satisfy its tolerances, and to satisfy due diligence, and to be able to say, my name is on this exactly at this level, and it's exactly as it should be. And I can go home happy with that. Doesn't necessarily have to be the highest level. In fact, I might be wasting someone's money. Should never be the lowest level unless that's where the tolerances dictate. Then let me just do this for you quick and dirty, and now you can move ahead, and I haven't spent your money. So just thinking about those two opposites and always considering where my task falls in that spectrum.
I really appreciate that story. I think there's a lot of people that are listening to this podcast right now on this recording and that will in the future that will really relate to that story. I know that I do. I connected with it, and it gives me insight into why it's so important for you to give 100%. And then also, what I think that story indicates is giving 100% of the right things, the right standards at the right time, according to what is needed at the moment. And so I hope that somebody listening to this podcast, now that we're in the principal portion of this brief podcast, will say, wow, I can go give 100%. I should hold myself accountable to that, like Brandon Montero. And wow, imagine if my fears did not hold me back. And so Brandon Montero and Rapport Leadership International and Tony Robbins are the three people that have talked about 100% and that concept of giving 100% in their lives. And so I figured it would be really neat to talk to you about this today. You've brought it up to me before, so I'm going to ask you directly, when you tell me, Jason, did you give 100% or you should give 100% with this thing? What are you talking about? What is the concept? What is the principle? Can you talk about that?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is an understanding of what our best is and what it looks like, and then asking ourselves whether we feel like we deliver our best on a regular basis. We all know that likely our employers are okay with 80% of our effort, maybe 85%. Maybe we have a boss that is sometimes absentee and we could even get by with 65%. We've probably done that at work or in our lives. And I would say that we've probably done that at home with our families too. Maybe we get home and we're tired, the energy is low, and we don't deliver all of the attention, the affection, the love, the time that we possibly could if we were all there giving our best efforts. And so I think that each one of us intrinsically knows what our 100% is and what it looks like and feels like. And we also know when we're giving effort that falls below that. So when I think about 100% for myself, I feel like, is my mind 100% committed to this task? Or, is it 80% and I'm allowing another 20% to float around on some of the concerns that are, happening in the background in my life? Or when I'm giving an effort on a project, am I moving along as fast as I could? Am I wasting time or being inefficient in my tasks? Or again, is my thought process really there in what I'm doing so that I can say, I'm doing this task, this portion of my task, even this component of my task to the best of my ability, speed, efficiency. And I don't mean by that we just need to be moving fast all of the time. And that's what makes 100%. But I'm saying mentally connected to what we're doing and giving everything from a thought process, consideration, and care standpoint mentally. And that shows up in the way that we do things.
How do you personally prepare to give 100%? I'm imagining that some people listening are connecting with the content, connecting with the principle. And in fact, when you're talking, I'm personally thinking, did I give 100% yesterday with my family? Or, throughout the day at work, was I on point all the time? And if the answer for me was no in any of those situations, what advice would you give for preparation, for poise, for posture, for mental attitude, for getting into state? What would you tell us?
Well, I think we all need a little bit of hype sometimes. Maybe on your way to a conversation where you feel like you need to be 100% mentally alert and aware. Maybe there is a particular song that really gets us moving. Maybe there is a public speaker who we find extremely encouraging. Maybe a particular discourse that he's given that really gets us fired up. Maybe it's a quick meditation, going inside ourselves and just kind of looking for that energy and that strength. I think that there are a lot of things that work for different people depending on what your makeup is. If you don't listen to music, then a song is probably not going to amp you up. But figuring out what that is for yourself. I would say that for me, and I'll also credit Rapport International in my own training. I think that if it's something that you can do at a high level and in big situations, then you can scale that back down to small situations. So we talked about having the right tool that scale to the right task at the right time. Well, can you just hype yourself up, even past the needs of that specific task? And then can you scale yourself back down to the right spot? So I would say looking for those ways to be able to energize yourself, to connect and focus your thinking, and making sure that you are mentally and physically present in whatever your task is. Whether it's a meditation, whether it's music, whether it's moving your body, maybe you need to do some jumping jacks. A lot of our projects have a stretch and flex before things. Well, not only does that get us limber and warmed up, but it also turns our mental acuity on. So just really something to think about. However it is that we personally realize that we can tell our minds, hey, it's time to be on right now. Hype ourselves up, maybe past the point of the task even, and then scale ourselves down to the needs of the moment.
When you mention scaling it up and then taking it to the needs of the moment, that really speaks in my mind to the question of, is it authentic? If I get hyped up, or if I stand up straight, put my shoulders back, kick on some music, jump up and down, do 10 jumping jacks, whatever it is, the question that I've gotten frequently is that authentic? And I like your point. It's authentic from the standpoint of you're preparing yourself to go to the appropriate level, is what I'm hearing you say. And if you can get your energy, your mind, your blood flow, your posture, your mental attitude, your chin up, and your vision of success, if you can visualize that success at a peak level, then you have a wide range and you can go to any level that you need at the time because you've widened your range. And that's the terminology that you use. And so if you've ever been with Brandon Montero at a boot camp or a mastermind or in any kind of training like I have, you'll notice his shoulders are back. He is imagining success, visualizing himself being successful in that situation. His head is up, his posture, his expression on his face, everything exudes confidence because the focus is on winning in the moment and showing up exactly how he wants to be. So those are the things I've observed about you, Brandon. I just really appreciate that example. So anything else you'd like to say on that?
Yes, I want to piggyback on the question that you asked. Is it authentic? And not to get overly philosophical, but you could ask, is confidence authentic? Well, it's really something that you've created out of self-belief. And if you're able to perform at the level of that self-belief, even though you're confident, I'm confident that I can, but it's not proven until you do. It doesn't disqualify your confidence from being authentic. You believe that you will, and if you do, then it's especially authentic. You've proved it yourself. I would say it's the same with 100%. You're amping yourself up. You're getting yourself mentally prepared and ready for something. It's authentic because you're about to do that. You're about to follow through with it. So if you're saying, I've connected my mind to this task at 100%, I'm giving it my all, then you're going to succeed at that task. It's really not a try situation. You're not going to go at it half-heartedly. You've set your mind to be effective and to complete something, and so you will be effective and complete something. And so I would just go back to, is it authentic? Definitely, it's your desire for yourself, and then you go ahead and prove it by following through and doing it.
So I would like to capture this moment by asking you to give anyone listening a challenge, whether it's asking them a question or challenging them to do a specific preparation or behavior or to practice a certain principle in life. Whatever the case may be, whatever the style is, I'd like you to ask a question or challenge the audience to help everyone give more 100% of what they are and how they can show up and what they're capable of, and to also hold themselves accountable. You and I had talked before we started recording that holding yourself and others accountable to our best and to that 100% is a key component. So I have a tendency to ask multiple questions, but what I'd basically like you to do, Brandon, is to tell us what challenge would you give anyone listening to go do this and accomplish this?
I would challenge anyone listening to ask themselves what they have been accepting as good enough. And what I mean by that is oftentimes you may hear someone say, well, that's just how I am. Maybe they're talking about themselves being shy in social situations, not speaking up at company meetings, not putting their opinions out there when they're talking with trade partners, not feeling comfortable speaking up to trade partners or people who they see working unsafe on a site. Well, that's just how I am. But could you be better than that if you wanted to? Could you act differently from that if you wanted to? And going back to that, if you set your mind to complete a task, you can't say that, oh, well, if I'm introverted and I'm shy and quiet, if I go be connected to everyone and take personal interest in everyone and I'm direct with everyone, that's authentic. No, you've set your mind to a task and then you've accomplished it. So I would say, issue that challenge that if you're saying my personality is a certain way, I want you to really ask yourself, have you isolated a spot that is your comfort zone for yourself, and you have created a way to allow yourself to stay there by saying, that's how I am? Or is there more that you can do? Could you be more connected? Could you show more of your personality, especially if you want to? And could you show up with more energy, more connection, more personality, all of the things that make you you now, but at a higher level? Is there more effort? Or are you stuck in that spot where you've said, this is me, this is my good enough, this is who I am? My challenge is that there's more.
You'll hear Brandon and I talk a lot about Rapport Leadership International. If you ever have a chance to go to any of their courses, I would recommend, I'm sure Brandon would as well. When I went, I was apprised of this concept of a 100%, and I thought I knew what that meant. But in my mind, it was 1/100,000th of what I was forced to do in that training. And what was impactful to me is how far beyond my current performance was my actual 100%. And then once I'm stretched to that and exhausted and have pushed into those new levels, now that becomes more of the norm, how much farther my next 100% was beyond that. And I've said this before, and it's just my personal opinion. Heaven, if such a place exists, to me, is a place where we won't know everything, we won't have everything, we won't have all power, we won't have ease, but it will be a place for me where I'm growing and pushing and developing. If I'm not growing or learning in heaven, then it won't be heaven for me. That would be my personal hell. And so when I went to Rapport Leadership International, learned some of these concepts, was pushed to my next level of 100%. Not only was I pushed, but it gave me a vision for how much farther my next 100% could be, and how much farther my next could be, and how much farther my next could be. And it quite frankly gave me hope that the rest of this life is just going to be one continuous journey of progress, of learning, of development, further success, and mistakes, quite frankly. And so the reason I mention that is because there is a benefit. Not only will you be more successful, not only will you be more fulfilled, not only will you be able to show up for your family better, not only will you be able to bless people's lives, but I honestly believe that although we don't always live outside of our comfort zone, sometimes we need a rest. Pushing ourselves outside of that comfort zone and giving our 100% is the most beautiful way to live. And so that's the vision for this. And Brandon, I'm going to ask you if you have one closing comment for everybody, but I do want to say for anybody listening, the vision for this is that anyone in their careers can be enticed to go to their next level, whether you go to Rapport, whether you go to one of our boot camps, our masterminds, whether you have another personal coach, you go to Tony Robbins, wherever you can go to get pushed to do your best. I think that crowd, those mentors, those friends, those people are the ones that truly care about you because, like Brandon said, you have more to give. So I won't be the last person to talk on this podcast. So I'd like you to give us some advice as you go, your closing comment. Before I do that, if you want any other clarification, if you want to do an interview, if you have a podcast topic or any feedback whatsoever, please reach out to us on our website at elevateconstructionist.com or on LinkedIn or Facebook, or email me at jason.s@elevateconstructionist.com. IST stands for Insights, Solutions, and Training. And so I will leave the last word here for Brandon. And just one quick comment. I so appreciate you being here. I don't think it's possible to communicate how special you are in my life and how much I just absolutely appreciate you and who you are, and proud to be your friend. So give us a nice closing, and then tell us on we go, and we'll close this out.
I do have to kick that right back to you and say I had it edited out earlier when I was just imparting to you that you have probably been the first person I would say in my life that has been a mentor to me, both professionally and personally. I was kind of explaining to you how I've had both of those things independently lots of different times. Some great managers, great bosses that I worked with, but that never carried over into my personal life. And I've had some amazing figures in my personal life that have helped me, learn how to be accountable as a person, that have helped me feel comfortable being myself and really showing up as a human being. And you're probably the first person, professional acquaintance, friend that has been all of those things. And so I just want to kick that appreciation back to you and just tell you how much I appreciate you as a human being. And man, I could go on and on about that. What I want to say in closing is when we think about reaching for a bar, our arms are up over our head. Maybe we're on our tippy toes, our shoulders are, they're stretched. It should feel like effort. And so I want to say the same thing about, are you in your comfort zone? Well, how do things feel right now? Does it feel like you're trying hard? Does it feel like you're doing something that's maybe difficult to sustain? Or does the amount of effort that you're putting in your life, that you're putting in at work, does it feel comfortable? Does it feel okay? Does it feel natural? Or do you feel stretched? If you're stretching, you're growing. You're reaching for that bar. And once you've touched it, and then you can reach for it and grab it repeatedly in the future. Sorry, guys, that's your new comfort zone. And you're going to have to stretch past that. The bar continues to be raised by you yourself as you meet your own goals. And so I would say, think about and examine how your life feels to you in any given moment. Does it feel like you're trying hard? Then you're probably growing. You're probably giving somewhere close to your 100%. I'm not going to issue you 100 just based on this conversation. Sorry. But can you feel that effort? If not, you're in your comfort zone and it's time to get out.
Brandon, thank you. And for anybody listening, we love you and we appreciate you, and we hope this content helps. And until we meet again, let's say it together, Brandon. On we go.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on the Elevate Construction Podcast.